Hello, good day everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the RAA proofs. RAA proof, or also known as reductio ad absurdum, is a proof technique that takes advantage of our newly found ability to introduce any assumption into a proof at any time, with the proviso that we properly discharge the assumption. You will recall that one way to demonstrate that an argument is valid is to show that the truth of premises is inconsistent with the falsity of the conclusion. RAA, or reductio ad absurdum, is a Latin for reduction to absurdity. One of the fundamental rules of logic is that one can never derive falsity from truth. True premises together with a proper reasoning guarantees a true conclusion. So I have here an example. Our logic is not yet strong enough to prove some valid arguments. Consider the following argument as an example. So we have here, if P, then Q or R. So we have here a, if not Q and not R, so suppose we have not P. This argument looks valid. By the first premise we know, if P were true, then so would Q or R be true. But then either Q or R or both would be true. And by the second and third premises we know, Q is false and R is false. So it cannot be that Q or R is true, and so it cannot be that P is true. So in this kind of situation, in which all the premises are true, the conclusion is also true. That is, the premises are all true only in the last row. For that row, the conclusion is of course true. So this is a valid argument. So traditionally, the assumption for indirect derivation has also been commonly called the assumption for reductio. So we have here an example from if P then Q or R. So we have not Q and not R. So sa number 4 we have not P, which is assumption for indirect derivation. And number 5, so ato mukuanta diri sa 4, so double negation sa line 4, so which is P. Sa number 6, Q or R, ngadto tani kuha sa 1 og 5, sa line 1 and 5 using modus ponens. And number 7, sa line 6 to 2, which is R, modus tollendo ponens. And number 8, repeat from 3. So therefore, not P is an indirect derivation from line 4 to 8. So yeah, that's all, and thank you.
So good day. So another modern approach to axiomatic is negation. So in mathematics, it is basically a negation of the statement that is opposite to the mathematical statement. So let P be a proposition or a statement. So the negation of the statement is represented by this symbol. No, we have this kanang murag bad then, or kanang murag natuad nga L, no, next to the kanang letter P. So it simply states that, or negation of P simply states that it is not the case that P. So if P is true, then negation of P is false. Then if P is false, then negation of P is true. So murag the logic behind, or the basic idea in here is murag nang hambog ta sa atong parents ba. So in our layman's terms, so it murag niya itong gingon nga minus 100 sa langit. So for example, kating classes ka, then it is true, no, kauban mo mga kanang friends, no, nga ni kating classes ka, then gi-confront ka sa imong parents kay lagi gisumbong ka sa imong marites nga silingan, char. So then para dili malabagan, no, sa ginikanan, no, of course that leads to nang hambog ta, no, nila. Then atong gidinay nga wala tani kating classes. So therefore, in respect to the negation, no, so kaya ato man gidinay ang statement no, ang tinuod nga panghitabo. So of course it is false, no. So kanus aman nahimong true ang pagpanghambog, no. So that's it, guys. So exert from the logic rule number 3, so which is the negation of already negative statement. So guys, notice it is already a negative statement, no. So negative statement din ato pag siya ginegate. So the logic rule number 3 state that the statement of negation of negative statement is the same as S. So murabag ka ng law of sign, no, ragi negative og negative atong gi-multiply, so nahimo og positive ang sign. So ana man siya, guys. So for example, square root of 2 is irrational. Then if you're going to negate this, that leads to square root of 2 is rational. So beauty is not gorgeous. So notice negative statement na siya, din atong ginegate, that leads to beauty is gorgeous. So with triangle ABC is not an equilateral triangle. So if you're going to negate, that leads to triangle ABC is an equilateral triangle. So the rule or the logic rule number 4 is a negation of implication. So the statement negation of H implies C or hypothesis implies conclusion is the same or logically equivalent as H and negation C. So kung mangutana mo nganong ang ginegate yung conclusion naman, so consider that that implication is a conditional statement, no. So the use of if then, so therefore ang hypothesis and conclusion, no, so they are a one statement, no with respect to condition, to a certain condition. So to further, if we have this proposition, if 3 is an odd number, then 3 squared is even. So if we're going to negate this, that leads to 3 is an odd number and 3 squared is an odd. So notice, as is ang atong hypothesis, no, with respect to our rule number 4, and 3 squared is an from even, no, so na-change siya into odd, which is the opposite, no, meaning to the mathematical statement, no, which is even and odd. So another one, if Justin is 7, then Justin is a grade 1 pupil. So if we're going to negate this, no, with respect to our rule number 4, so Justin is 7 and he is not a grade 1 pupil. So that's it, guys, for rule number 4. So the rule number 5 is a negation of conjunction, or represented by and a disjunction, or represented by or, in two statement. So this statement negation of a sub 1 or first statement and second statement or a sub 2. So same as or logically equivalent to negation of first statement or negation of the second statement. So mura ba siya sa rule number 5, gi-distribute nato ang negation, no, sa duha ka statement, no, considering kanang they are a separate kuan man statement. So unlike sa katong implications, kay naman sila kanang condition ba, so therefore connected siya nga statement. So in here we have this proposition or example or a statement, 1 is equals to 2 and 1 is equals to 3. So if we're going to negate with respect to rule number 5, so 1 is not equals to 2, or no, from add, no, na change siya dito sa or. So of course it is with respect to rule number 5, then 1 is not equals to 3. So with if we're going to negate a disjunction, so 1 is equals to 2 or 1 is equals to 3, then with respect to, if we're going to negate this, with respect to rule number 5, so 1 is not equals to 2 and 1 is not equal to 3. So that's it for rule number 5. So what is absurd statement? So it is the conjunction of a statement S or with the negation of S. So a statement of this type is called contradiction. So a system of action from which no contradiction can be deduced is called consistent. So that concludes my presentation, which is negation, and thank you.